My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to this episode of Legally Clueless. This is what's coming up.
She's taking me to Form 1, and the secretary asks her, has your baby started seeing her periods? And she was like, have you started seeing your periods? Now she's asking me in front of people. I don't know. Let me ask her. Have you started seeing your periods? And I'm like, no. And the secretary asks, how can you not know? That was it. My mother now showed up again when I was clearing Form 4. So all along, my granny would come to school. Yeah, my mother never used to attend to my functions.
That is part 1 of Wanjirah Kimani's story. I can't wait for us to get into it. We're going to get into it in a bit. But I do hope you're doing incredibly well, keeping sane and safe wherever you are in this beautiful world. And I'm very, very glad that you are part of this family. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, it goes out every single Monday, and we have different Africans, primarily African women, come on and share stories of their lived experience. And then on Wednesdays, we have the midweek teas where I unpack different topics that I stumble across on my healing journey that I think could help you. Our newsletter also goes out every single Wednesday, so make sure you sign up for it on our website. It's linked in the show notes. On Thursdays, both here and on our YouTube channel, we have our other show for mannerless women going out live, where we have different African women who are just going to come through and inspire you and give you the expertise you need to really become the woman you want to be and liberate yourself. You know what I mean? I'm loving this family, and I really love that you're here. Don't forget to join us on our TikTok and Instagram. We're at Legally Clueless Africa. Okay, I think we can jump into part 1 of Wanjirah's story. It's really powerful. I was going through it, and I just kept rewinding because there were so many apt points she was making that made me reflect on my own childhood. This is a story about growing up carrying questions that, if you ask me, I don't think any child should have to carry these questions, about belonging, about being wanted, about their worth. And it's also a story about the kinds of shame that can be planted in childhood. We talk about that a lot on this podcast, shame planted in childhood through words, through absence, through silence. I'm not going to give it away. Listen to the story, and then we can come right back for our reflections. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
My name is Wanjirah Kimani. I was born and raised in Murang'a County. I'm a firstborn in my family, that's maternally. But in my father's side, I'm not a firstborn. Well, my biological father, I am a firstborn, but my stepfather, I'm not a firstborn. So I went to school there. That's another story on itself, because my primary school was quite defined. It's not like the normal primary school, because I did skip 2 classes, and then I went to school very early. So I cleared Form 4 at the age of 16. For contest, the school that I was in did not have the 2 classes. So we just had nursery, and then you go to class 1. We didn't have baby, and we didn't have pre-unit. My mom gives birth to Wanjirah, and she's unable to stay in the marriage. She got divorced, and she comes home running. Fast forward, this story is my mom giving me now in real time when I'm a grown up. So she comes home and she's carrying me kwa kikapu, I'd say. That's what she told me. And my grandmother, the first thing she asked is, Jokini kiureka musi. For people who cannot understand that, is my granny is asking my mom, what are you doing home and what have you carried? My mom says, Mom, nimerudi nyumbani. Mom, I'm here and I'm back home. And so they just start to talk. And my mom tells my granny, I don't think I will go back there. So now I was born and I stayed with my mom, I think, for 3 months. And then when she brought me to my granny, so my entire young childhood, I was raised by my grandmother. So my mom leaves me with my granny and goes to Nairobi kutafuta pesa, to hustle and to earn a living. Yeah, and that is a background of where I was raised and who raised me. My late grandfather, may his soul rest in peace, was also present as my dad, and my uncle, my twin brother to my mom. And now my mom left. So I was left with the three guardians, and very many of my cousins were left with me there. So I think it was a thing in the family. Unfortunately, the sisters to my mom had broken marriages. So it turned out that coincidentally, we were like a couple of cousins who lived with my grandmother. So this is like, let's say 8 or 7 of us, or even 10 sometimes, sharing beds, plates, uniforms, and shoes and everything. So yeah, that is how Wanjirah was raised. So in the I just remember experiencing very many questions in my head because, for one, I'd hear people in the background talk about my dad, but I really didn't know, what do you mean, dad? Because remember, I left home when I was very early, when I was very young. So I didn't know. And I remember someone saying in class, Nas, I hear about the name dad kwa kamusi. Kamusi is dictionary in English. And I remember asking myself, actually, yeah, I also do not know the meaning of that. Like, can someone please explain to me? But I used to hear people say baba. Baba in Swahili, in English, is father. And so I started asking myself questions. But then at the time, I don't even think I could think about how to find him or to even know him. I don't know. But there's one instance, I was coming from church on Sunday, and a guy came with grapes or plums, the red ones, and he said hi and gave them to me. And then he told me, when you go home, say hi to your grandmother and tell your grandmother that it's Gitao. And I'm like, okay. As the baby that I was happy. I'm like, oh, shush. I met this man and he gave me this and told me to tell you it's Gitao, and he said hi. And immediately my granny was like, I remember her telling my elder cousins, the dad is the one who gave this baby. But this baby doesn't know. This baby is thinking it's just some random guy. So that was my first instance of hearing about my father. The story is being told to me about my dad via me withdropping. So I'm young, and at that age, I think I was 5, 6. So that's the time that I heard about my dad. A conversation. I withdropped a conversation. My grandmother telling my cousins about this man who gave me the plums. Anyway, so fast forward, now that you have the background of how the situation was, that means there was no relationship with a father or a mother. I mean, my mom has left. It's just me, my grandmother, my grandfather, and now the cousins. And the place was super loving but chaotic at the same time. So in the African culture, we do not have, or rather, than my grandmother could not even be able to express feelings or tell you things that we want to be told today, like I love you, or you're beautiful, or you're good. But one of the most defining moments is when I used to perform in school. I remember she'd be very happy. So I used to live a performative life. If I perform, I'm going to, is it provoke, or I'm going to make her now appreciate me or feel me, and then now I'm going to, so I'd perform so that I can get I can how am I gonna say it? It's I'll perform so that I can provoke or I want my granny to engage and show me love and affection, yada yada yada. Now I'd make sure that I'm performing or I'm doing something, maybe go to the farm and make sure that I've toiled the whole day. So now at night when we're seated there, she'd be like, oh, my Wanjirah, da 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 da. So, and living a performative life. Well, right now, it's not a bad thing when I look at it, but it's also a bad thing because I couldn't just allow to be loved without having to perform. All along, I knew for someone to show you love and for someone to actually be present, you have to perform. And out of the performance, you're going to get a transaction that is love. So I was shamed by my uncle growing up for the very first time, if I can remember. And I remember him saying that I had a very big head. I actually do have a very big, not as big as you guys think. But yeah, I have a lot of hair. And yes, I remember my uncle saying that, and it really, really stuck with me. But my uncle did not say it from a point of, it was from a point of because they didn't get along with my mom. And now my mom is looked at the failure who, she was in Form 3, she brought a baby, now the baby is here. What do you mean? They don't like the baby. And they never used to get along with my granny. So to come at me, because I was now, after I came from my father's side, I was renamed as my granny. So my mom renamed me called me Wanjirah now as the mother. So at the time my uncle is shaming me, well, I think it's a thing he used to do with very many of us when I think about it now. I'm at the age of, I think, 8 or 7. Yeah, that's the best I can remember. Maybe class 5. So yeah, the experiences of men have already become tough at this point. Because I mean, if you're experiencing like that, the uncle, and you're seeing how your grandfather is treating your grandma. So for context, my grandmother and my grandfather, when I was going there, they had already separated. They never used to sleep in the same bed. They were sleeping in different rooms, and they were not in terms. So we, the babies, or I, the baby, because I was the youngest, I'm the one who used to make them now talk. So my grandmother would say all sorts of things, and my grandfather would also do the same. And so you can imagine how that does to us, a baby, to see how there is no love completely. Like, it's just shaming and shaming and shaming. So my grandfather comes and she's like, you are a witch, you bewitched, da 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 da. You know how the old generation, they don't know how to communicate properly. And I knew now people are now being appreciated. My shosho is also, as she's giving us whatever it is that she felt like by then it was love, she's also shaming us at some point. We're going to fetch water and fetching firewood, and then we come back, and probably she's irritated by the husband, and now she says all sorts of kinds of word, and your mothers, I paid for school fees for your mothers and they drop out because of men, da, 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 da. And so we're just there and we're like, oh wow, okay, our mothers are losers. Oh my god, how unfortunate are we to be born by such moms. But anyway, so fast forward now, I've grown up. I'm a big baby. I remember my other experience that really made me feel so low and made me feel like, oh my God, am I even worthy? And made me feel like my mom is not taking care of me, however much she convinced me she wants to take care of me, is because I'd go to school barefooted, not because she couldn't afford, but just because when she gets me a pair of shoe and then it's like torn, she wouldn't replace it almost immediately. And so I have a whole month to toil, like to just go to school barefooted and coming back. By the time my mom is coming from Nairobi to come and bring me another pair. So it would really, really make me feel bad because, for one, the kids here are saying, my mom has gone to Nairobi and Nairobi is known for cash. So they're like, even your mom is in Nairobi and she can't afford to to buy you shoes. And so I remember my experience with my mom then. My mom would come because she's busy. The kids are the people who'd tell me, your mom was here and she brought us this, and she couldn't wait for me and she'd leave. So me, I'm even coming to be told that my mom came here and she left. So fast forward, this is around class six. I go to Nairobi and my mom wants to, I think, introduce me to the new boyfriend at the time, get married or something. And an year later, so my experience with my stepdad was not a good one. I resented him the first day I saw him. My granny said it's something a bit about blood. The way they say blood is thicker than water. Because I remember not liking him, not wanting to look at him. I just didn't like him when I saw him. And so we stayed for a whole week or 2 weeks without me having to say a word to him. And I think now, when my mom saw that our relationship is struggling, she took me back to the village. Yeah. So I've been taken back to the village to clear my closet. And during this time, my mom gives birth to the second born. So all along, I've just been by myself. And then after I clear closet, this is now where the journey began. My mom takes me back because now she has a baby and she needs more support. And because I've just cleared closet, before I get to the next year, because I remember our time would stay for a period of time before you transition to the next year. Like when the results come, you have some time to stay. So that time I'm with my mom. And remember, we have not had a relationship with my mother. Me and my mom were like completely pure strangers. It's just, hi, I was here. I brought you this. I brought you this. Oh, hi, I was here. That's it. Um, so at that time, I'm taking care of my brother. And this is the time where I really started to experience smallness and being like called all sorts of name by your mom. It's one thing to experience that from outside people, and it's another thing to experience shaming from your own mom. So I come, and now I'm the maid, sort of. But that was people taking care of the baby, yes. But I'd clean even my father's clothes. I'd do all those things of the African shows. But when I'm cleaning, my mom would say like really, really bad words. I don't know whether she resented me because of the divorce, but there was so much resentment and so much hate that was being projected to me by my mom. So, I mean, I think the very first time I experienced shame was when my mom shamed me. So, yeah. So, um, I promised myself I'm not gonna cry. So, I remember one of the things that my mom used to say is like, she'd say things like, "You're going to become a prostitute," um, and very many other things. Maybe I can't be able to say them, but so my relationship with my mother has now started to struggle a bit too much because we're staying together. And so maybe she'd look at me and I don't know what she'd see, but I don't think anything good came out of her mouth at a single time. Now, my father, who I didn't like, is the one who started to at least help me get along with my mom. So I think I didn't have a choice because now he's the one who is on my side a little bit. I just started to treat him, calling him dad. I didn't really want to do that, but I was like, okay, cool. For me to survive living with my mom, then I think I just have to be friends with this man and at least He can help me out when my mom is beating me, when she's saying all the nasty words and all the bad things about this baby who I don't know. She'd even tell the neighbors, oh my God, if I knew I was pregnant with a girl right now, I'd definitely remove the baby. I hate girls with all my life. I wouldn't want to give birth to another girl. Yada yada. And she'd say very many things about just this baby who is a girl and the way, you know. And I don't know, I really don't understand why she would do that, but it was just a lot of shaming. She'd say things and I was just like, oh my God, how small can I be? Like, who am I? So this really, really affected how I'm now receiving love in the world. I go to high school and I remember an experience that was really shameful is when she's taking me to Form 1, and the secretary asks her, has your baby started seeing her periods? And she was like, have you started seeing your periods? Now she's asking me in front of people. I don't know. Let me ask her, you know, have you started seeing your periods? And I'm like, no. And the secretary asks, how can you not know? And that was it. My mother now showed up again when I was clearing Form 4. So all along, my granny would come to school. Yeah, my mother never used to attend to my functions. My dad came, I think, twice. And now my grandmother and my aunties are the people who I'd call and I'm like, hey, I have an annual, could you come? I have a visiting, could you come to school? My mom is busy. She said she couldn't make it. It got to a point I couldn't now call her anymore. And so on and so forth. So when I'm in school, I'm not really talking about mothers and fathers. Um, yeah, I'm just that. People are asking me, "How about your mom?" And um, I'm like the woman who thinks that I am a loser and I am not really like the daughter, the dream girl. No, I'm not gonna talk about her. The woman who thinks I'm a prostitute, I'm gonna be a prostitute. No, I don't think I want to talk about her. Yeah, so the woman who can only want me to do dishes and, you know, I don't think I want to talk about her. So I never really used to talk about my mom completely. Um, so I'm in high school, and that's another thing of being like you're not treated the way that my mom is not treating me the way that I'm supposed to be treated. But at least for my granny, she is showing up. She's coming to school, she'd cook, she'd be there 100%. But now, you see, at the end of the day, even if your grandmother is there and there's another person who is resenting you, I mean, this effect will be there by default. Because the same love that my grandma, sorry, is giving me is not the same love that my mom could have shown me. So how I did navigate my period experience after now my mom has been asked and whatnot. I think when I was still at the village, I used to hear girls saying, "Ne dona mweri," so quote unquote, I have received my periods, and then they'd rush to the toilet, and then they'd use the pads, and then I'd ask them, "What is it that you guys do when now you bleed?" Then they'd tell me, "There's a pad that you buy at the time it was 50 bob that you wear." I'm like, okay. So I remember one girl was called Jacqueline, and Jacqueline would tell me, for me, it's an experience of 7 days, but it's different for people. And I was like, okay. So at least I knew there's something that I'm supposed to buy, that I'm supposed to use when that thing comes. So I think I started receiving my periods in Form 2. And so I just had the pad. I never told anyone. It just came, and I was used to keeping things to myself. I didn't really used to share because I didn't know how people are going to receive it. If I've been received like this at home, then I mean the world can only be worse. So yeah, I just saw the blood, took the pads, wore the pads, and life continued. When I went home, I never said anything. I have never talked about it, and that's it. And fast forward now, I'm a grown up. So I never had that conversation with my mom. She never asked me about it, and we've never even talked about it. Yeah. So where I used to go for holidays, I'd switch. So sometimes my mom would call and say, I want her here. Bring her. Mostly, I'd leave school and go straight to my auntie's. So my auntie was aware that my relationship with my mom is struggling. So most of the time when I leave school, she was the one who would like tell me, you can come. So I'd go there, we'd talk about it. She was the only person who knew what was going down, and my grandmother. No, my grandmother would be like, why? Why would she? Why would she? Da, da, da. Then my granny would be like, just a supportive parent, she'd go like, maybe it's stress. Maybe she's just strenuous. Maybe the marriage. And then that story would just die a natural death. But I remember my grandmother telling me, just pray to God. So how this relationship now during the holidays and those things and the high school season, how I used to cope with it at the time is praying. I was very prayerful. I was so close to God, so much. So I'd pray. I'd pray because I used to hear my granny pray. So I knew there's a supreme being called God who can help me. Because every day when my granny was raising me, we'd wake up at 3 and she'd pray with me. So she'd tell me, wake up, let's pray. And I'd hear her pray. And I'd hear, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then when something would happen, she'd tell me, you remember we prayed about this? God has done it, you see? So I used to know growing up, there's someone that you can call unto and he's gonna answer. I didn't really know where that someone is, but I just knew about prayer. So it's high school, my mom is calling me and my aunties, and now I'm going. I could either go to my mom's place or I could go to my aunties. I'll just be that baby who, holidays, any auntie can call and say, let them come here. But my favorite place was to go to my grandmother's. So, yeah, so I was so close to God that time. I was so close to God. Like, my relationship, and as much as it was really not a good thing for me, it has really helped me. It has grounded me to have a relationship with God at a very young age. So I'd just pray. I'd read the word kidogo, but not so much, not with an understanding, but at least I knew that I could go now and cast my burdens. So now I'm finished high school. What do I know about love? I'm just looking for validation from all corners. I I don't know, but I'm just craving something and I'm just like, okay. But remember, I'm very performative because now I have to perform. Now this is my time to shine. And all this time, I'm putting all these things in secrecy I don't want to share because I'm feeling so embarrassed to tell someone my mother doesn't love me, or it's even saying it, it feels like it's wrong because the way it's supposed to be is your parents, they love you, they should show you care. So I have so much embarrassment, shame about I'm not being loved by my own mom. Like that means I have a problem. So it's a me thing. I'm the victim of this whole thing. Because why Mbona? Mbona is why. So now I'm finishing high school, and oh my God, if you tell me to run back in time and redo my high school bit where I'm clearing high school and now transitioning to adulting, I'd run back in time and do things differently because it was crazy. So I finished high school, boys are being introduced, career, and very many things, drugs, the rainbow, the colors of the world are now clear. This is it. You're now a grown up. Now it's no longer the small, small things about being a baby. Oh, this one called me this. Oh, this one this. Oh, this one this. So I'm carrying the unlovedness of my upbringing from my mom and whoever else was there, my dad. So for something I forgot to say is that even for my stepdad, he would only show love by paying school fees and that's it. Like we would never sit down and have a conversation with my father. Me was just to serve food, go to sleep, and I leave them there with my mom. So, hey, now you're telling me I have not experienced mom, I've not experienced dad, I've experienced a stepdad who's not even present. I've also experienced people saying this kid was married by the kid came with the mom. So in the African culture, when someone gives birth, well, they're at home and then they get divorced and then you get married again. There's that thing of the baby being like, it's like,
Considered like an outcast.
yeah, like the baby is considered an outcast or something. And so people now, when I'm walking around, they're like, yeah, this is the baby who came. This is the baby who came. This is the baby who is not for the dad. And I'm just like, what do you guys mean I'm the baby who came? You see, like all these things now, I'm just like, wait, is it a bad thing to be the baby who came? Like, make me understand. So I'm finishing high school and I'm now going to campus. And I remember my dad saying, we're going to take you to school just because. Like, if he had a choice, he'd have never taken me to school for a fact. But just because I'm the firstborn and they want to like bring the point home, yes, we took our baby to school and our baby has gone to campus. It's like, okay, cool. So my dad admitted, I got my admission, I went to campus, and the first thing is I'm looking for a best friend, and I'm looking for, like, I just find myself wanting to be wanted. Like, I just want to be wanted. I want to be loved. I don't know. I don't want when people are not loving me or they're not like looking at me in a good way. So, validation was such a big thing, and being accepted and not being shamed. So, I'd only present myself in a certain profile because I've already experienced so much shaming and unlove. I don't want to experience it here. So I put up a profile of the person that I am. But really, I'm not that person. Because I don't want to experience that because I'm thinking I have a problem. So if I am the problem, then I ought to create somebody else who doesn't have a problem. So I'm in Campo. And in campus, I meet friends. The girl from the village, she doesn't know anything. There's so much things going on. There's lesbianism. There's there are things like masturbation. I'm like, what do you mean there's pornography, there's clubbing, there's alcohol? I'm like, Jesus Christ, what is going on? Like, all these things, they're men. You can even fall in love with a girl. What? No way. So I remember getting so much attention from both genders, but what stood out for me was from women. So I'd get hit on with women crazily in campus. Yeah, guys, I'm pretty. Anyway, that was just a banter. So, and I remember just receiving that love as normal love. Like, by the way, this is normal. Like, I should be. They should love me. What do you mean? Yeah. But remember, this is coming from a point of, this girl has never received it. This girl, I remember even there's a time a guy who was saying me told me, if you were raised by a dad, you would become a different type of a woman.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. That was part one of Wanjirah's story, and woof, so much to take away. Remember, I love reading your comments. So whatever it is that you're listening to this show on, whatever platform I mean, please drop a comment. Tell me what you connected with already in part one. Did it take you back to something you experienced in childhood? Did you also have an uncle or an aunt who would say certain things about you and you're just like, where the heck is that from? The funny thing is, before I go into my takeaway, yesterday I was having just a meetup with one of my favorite aunts who doubles up as like my girlfriend and best friend. And while we're talking, I told her, and this is something that I carry true to my core. And I thought about it again when Wanjirah was talking about her uncle. I do not believe anybody who disliked your mother can ever love you, can ever care for you. If someone either disliked your mom, was in competition with your mom, resented your mom, was jealous of your mom, personally, my rule of thumb is they can never genuinely like you. And honestly, like that advice has never led me astray. And when I was telling my aunt about this, so she's my aunt because she's cousins with my late mom. And so their mothers were sisters. You get what I mean? So she was staring at me and she's like, it's so crazy you say that because her mom used to tell her the very same thing. I stand by that. Guys, that's one of my rules of thumb when it comes to this life thing. But there's so much to take away from Wanjirah's story. And the one that really stayed with me is that shame that's given to you in childhood is not your identity. Please do not let it assimilate and become part of who you are. It is something that you may have inherited. It's something that you may have survived, but it is not who you are. Very many of us learned to perform love. That's one. Another thing is that very many of us learned to perform for love, to overachieve for affection, to shrink to avoid rejection. And so essentially in childhood, what we were learning is to become who we thought we had to be in order to be chosen. And a huge part of healing is unlearning all of that, right? Is really just understanding that when it comes to love and being loved, it was never supposed to be transactional. You were never meant to earn your worth. And I really think Wanjirah's story, and this is just part one. We have part 2 coming out next week. This is just part 1, but it's already so powerfully beginning to show what it looks like to name these wounds. And then like, by naming them, it's like we are reclaiming who we are. So next week in part 2, we continue the journey and we really hear how these early experiences shaped love and identity and healing for her in adulthood. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on part 2. So make sure you subscribe wherever it is you're listening to this episode on so you do not miss out on it. It's going to be out next Monday. But my goodness, if while listening to Wanjirah's story, you feel moved to want to share your story on this podcast show, you're African, I know you've got a story and it's valid. We want to hear it. All you have to do is fill out our storyteller form. A link to it is in the show notes, and one of our correspondents is going to reach out to you. There's a lot to sit with from this part 1. I don't know. Is it just me? I feel like I need to go and journal. I really just need to sit with part 1. But thank you so much for listening to this episode to the very end. I truly appreciate you, and I truly believe honestly that you have every single thing it takes to heal. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.